All systems go. Clear for liftoff. What's up, everyone? Tyler Tamboline here, a.k.a. ToeTagginTambo, back for what is finally the final showdown show of the year here on the Mayo Media Network. For this one, we said it a couple weeks ago, ended up being one more Monday night game. It has actually turned into a two-game slate. I will let you know off the top. We'll look at the two-game slate. We're going to cover it. Got some content over at SHIPIT Nation for it, but obviously DraftKings didn't seem to care about this one too much. They just keep selling out the same $20 tournament. They did not put a lot of effort. It's not a featured slate or anything. We're going to spend a lot more time, as the show usually does, on the main showdown slate, the evening one, Philly at Tampa Bay, $1 million up top tonight. So very excited about that. We'll have all full coverage over at shipitnation.com. But before I get into it, I want to remind everyone very quickly, smash that like button on the way in. There's lots of great things going on over at the Nation. If you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, do so now. And then if you want to subscribe to another channel, a really good one with lots of free shows, all free shows, go over to youtube.com/@ShipItNation, or just open up another tab or browser, type it in, subscribe over there. Helps us out a ton. Once we get to 6,000 subscribers, going to be doing another big giveaway. Hoopster, bring you in first, man. Got my same guys always, Hoop and Title, but Hoopster, man, I posted in the Discord yesterday. You did the poll. You had the Dak jersey on, and you had the Lions shirt underneath. You said Dak is going to dominate DFS. He did. Then said, I'm taking my jersey off and supporting my team, and they won. So it was at that moment the Cowboys lost and the Lions won, and sure enough, that was the end result. How you feel today, my friend? Congrats on your team getting the dub.
Yeah, it's kind of like a symbol of what's kind of been happening within the Ship It Nation community. Just like can't miss. I mean, just can't miss on these calls. The calls have been phenomenal. Our members are having a ton of success. You took down the advancing to the next round of the King of the Desert. Everything just seems to be going our way, which is a very good a very good situation to be in. A lot of people were making the jokes, and the screenshot as I was taking off the Dak jersey, switching over to the Lions. But two very accurate calls, and we're humble people around here, but it's fun to get things right. Time and again. But yeah, Dak, you needed him yesterday. He absolutely went off, got the job done for us. And then the Lions get the big W in prime time last night at the game. Had a lot of fun. Paying the price a little bit. 2 a.m. nights, not as easy when you get close to that 40 number. So paying the price a little bit. Got my Gatorade, I'm rehydrating, and looking forward to watching some football here. I'm gonna get our content up and loaded over at shipitnation.com. I'm gonna sit my ass on the couch and watch 2 football games.
Yeah, it's going to be a good night. I'm excited for that part of it. That is the one benefit. It sucked yesterday waiting around all day for it. We got 2 really good games yesterday, actually. I was happy about that. And my man, Title, I got to bring you in with this one. With that, man, it's like no matter what you do. Oh, he doesn't have the SHIPIT hat on. Oh, what's this new hat? Oh, I like this one. Now today it's the haircut under the hat. You want to show it off or not?
I mean, it was at the gym.
Man.
Yeah,
got that mullet cut.
Yeah, it's going to get long. It's going to get longer. It's going to be worked down, but the change was made. The mullet's here, and the mullet's here to stay. I'll promise you that.
I got money on
growth, man. When we're gonna get it in Arizona, he could still, man. It's gonna just be blowing in the wind as he's hitting those trays. It's gonna be
Title's
good.
got that wedding. Title's got that wedding coming up. I want some side action because I can't bet Title because Title. It's going to be too much money where you're going to keep the mullet no matter what. So I need to get a partner, not Title, to bet me because I don't think the wife's letting you roll with that mullet at that wedding.
No matter what she wants, I'll choose what I want. So let's get a bet going. Let's get a bet. Let's go.
Sounds like a pre-married man, doesn't it, Tambo?
No, there's always a thing in sickness and in health, and no matter what times, whatever this guy looks like, he's showing up, and she's gonna lock it down. He's gonna lock it down. It's gonna be perfect. Title, what's happening, man? How was your day? It's a big pack win. You called it. If you got McCarthy on the opposite side of that ball, anything can happen, man. I can tell you one thing I will say, quick little marketing plug. The sign of a good Discord, Cowboys fans can get a little rowdy. We got a lot of Packers fans in there. It was pretty tame, all things considered. There was a couple shots, couple little takes back and forth, but overall pretty tame. What was your thoughts, man? How'd that feel? You got a W yesterday too.
Yeah, I mean, it felt great. Doesn't feel as good going into San Fran, but man, just how young these Packers are. Defense showed out, and anytime, I mean, right away, LaFleur, win the toss, get the ball. And it's like, man, you don't see that very often. But right away, I was like, if you can go down and put 7 on the board, McCarthy's shitting his pants already. And sure enough, of course, I put all the blame on him, a lot of the stuff like that. But man, when you make it tough, get McCarthy out of his groove, and they just look dead to start. Packers put it on. Love absolutely making plays. Receivers making plays. This team's young. Very fun to watch for sure. So, yeah, I'm excited. Hoops team got in. Your team's still in it next. So, we're 3.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man, there is something good happening. There is something good happening because all our teams are still rolling. Members are – I mean, everything is just – it feels good, man. It feels good to be a part of this team.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I made fun of Hoop at the start of the year about one game, one and done. It was real scary at the end. I know you were scared. Talking about guys shitting their pants. You were probably up in that little booth, a little bit worried. They did nothing in the second half. They still got the job done. That's all that matters. But maybe it's going to be a Lions-Ravens Super Bowl. Maybe that could be the key.
That would be interesting. But it is funny how weird thoughts just like pop in your head at the most random times. And as soon as the Lions, I mean, obviously myself, Tambo, we communicate very frequently, just about every single day. But, as soon as the Lions got that win, one of the first thoughts that popped into my head was the 3 of us doing this show and his ass telling me the Lions would be 1 and done. And then guess what? Not so much, buddy. Not so much. Now your boy has to show up and prove it. And he's got a pretty easy matchup, though, so I think he does get the job done. But he's got to prove that he can get it done in the playoffs because my team, just showed up and proved it. Now it's your turn.
We're going to talk about this 2-game here in a second, but you said it there, and Title kind of mentioned it too. I mentioned this yesterday. It can apply for future slates, so it is on task, on hand. But like the teams like Houston and Green Bay and whatever, obviously no shot. You tell them like it's always going to be this way. It's just how it goes. But what's actually scary about them is the unknowns. Is the fact it's not like even again, I'm all for a good underdog. Love that underdog mentality. That matters too in sports. We know this, but it's also like who is Love gonna throw to? He's been capable all season. We talked about it on the show yesterday. And everyone kept hating on it. We showed it a bunch of weeks. We've been talking about that. But when you have different weapons, just the other team doesn't know exactly what to do, it can be the same with Houston. So there's always chances at upsets, but we'll see. I think it's going to be, probably the 49ers. I think the Lions can beat either of these teams that win tonight, so it doesn't really matter about that. I think it could end up being like a Lions 49ers and a Ravens with one of the Chiefs or Bills. That's how I'm seeing it. We'll obviously know where we're going with these games here in a second, but anything else there, Hoop, that you want to add before I pull up all the stuff here that we got going on?
I kind of agree with you for sure. And I don't know, like in terms of this, what are we going to do? So we're going to do the 2-game slate, then kind of talk.
We'll spend a little bit of time on the 2-game slate and then do our normal show on the showdown slate for sure.
Yeah. I'm ready to roll.
All right. One last thing. Other guy, if you didn't see him yesterday, Vince, he's still here. He's still living it. Just want to let you guys know this. Another massive, massive day for the PGA community. Again, back-to-back weeks. It's been hot to start. This is what we know and expect. We love this about it. PGA is a very fun sport to play, especially if you're just transitioning from NFL. I talk about it all the time. Coming from, back in the day when I was working at the car dealership and stuff, it was like just nice no matter what time. Even if I got off at 9:30 p.m., come home, say goodnight to the wife, go down to the office. I can work on NFL stuff. I can work on PGA DFS lineups. It's a good sport to transition to. There's showdown within it, just like NFL. There's just lots going on. I just want to make it clear, though, these prices, the weekly stay the same, who cares? But the monthly you get Discord with, the season you get Discord with. These were, as we said from the start, all full transparency, introductory prices. They're going up this week, not by much, but they are going up. Right now, you can not only get the introductory price, but you can use code PGA10 to get 10% off. So make sure if you want the season pass for $179, it works out to less than $5 per event. And that includes everything, the showdown content, the course, all the reports, the projections, the ownership, all the stuff that's been crushing so far 2 weeks in. It all comes with that package. So if you want to get in, check it out now.
Pull that back up there real quick. If you can.
Vince?
Just because just Vince. There was something with the pricing because, man, it's just like wild to me that somebody just outside that's involved in content wants to, have a home for content can look at these price tags and say, yeah, you know what? Instead of the 34 a month, I'd rather pay 60 over here. Instead of 199 for the season, I'd rather pay $500, $600 for the season. Like, it is wild to me that someone would make that awful decision. Like, these prices are the best value in the industry. If you are interested in paying for content for PGA, if you're interested in improving your skill set at DFS PGA, these are the price tags you need to be looking at, not the $60, $70 a month, $500-$600 annually. That's insane to me. So I just want to point that out.
And especially in PGA, one thing we brought up on the launch show, and we're 10 minutes in, so we're past our marketing queue here, but just to say it, if you want a tool site like Fantasy National and you want to go get involved over there or something else, you have to have money for that as well. Like, so that's the difference if you're trying to pair things together. But if you don't need that and you just want ownership, projections, content, all of that, this is already a good starting point to set you up on. So definitely keep that in mind. I've got the 2-game slate up here, and Title, I'll go to you first on this one. Just to, again, DK does have stuff up for it. I know FanDuel put a little something up, but like DraftKings has $20 with 100K up top. They put it a couple times. That's fine. I'm not even sure where they're at with it right now. But just first quick thoughts, grand scheme overview. We already talked about one of these games yesterday with Pittsburgh-Buffalo, so we're not going to rehash too much here. But just from an overview of this slate being the 2-gamer, what do you want to talk about first?
Yeah, I will say, DK absolutely messed it up. That's they're on their second, maybe even third $20 17K thing. I'm not playing the 2-gamer there. FanDuel a little better, $9, 40,000 people, 100K up top. Obviously, payout structures drop very fast like usual, but still debating about that. The showdown, $1 million, over 100,000. Focusing more on that, but broad slate overview for the 2-gamer. Well, even from yesterday till today, the Buffalo weather, it shouldn't be a factor. It's a little chilly. There are some winds, but field should be good. It shouldn't be a problem at all. Like the Miami KC game, Miami KC game, I think was probably even a little worse conditions due to the coldness there. So I'm not worried about weather. I still think the second game, Tampa Eagles, is the story of the slate. On the Eagles side, you got no A.J. Brown, so Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, 2 of the more popular plays on the slate, and then a lot of value or just fair pricing on the Buccaneers side, like Rachaad White, the alpha running back, no competition. Baker, a level below Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen if you want value. People aren't going to play Rudolph. Then you got Mike Evans, Godwin for fair prices. So I do think the second game gets a lot more ownership. Hoop had a lot of interest in Buffalo yesterday. I think that'll probably say the same here. It's a pretty good slate, though, in terms of, where the ownership is. You have Warren and Najee Harris. You got the James Cook stuff. You have multiple options at position. So we'll go through it. I think myself, I don't know. Like, I like the Bills side. If everyone's going to go to the second game, I didn't like the Bills on the 4-game slate or the 3-game slate as much. And a lot of with all these different slates as well and on different sites, I'm kind of changing my game plan kind of based on FanDuel DK with the pricing. 3-gamer, I went a lot more of these other 2 games, so now I'll play more Bills and this stuff, diversifying within my own GPP constants, etc. But Smith, Goddard, bunch of ownership. The Buccaneers, the story of the slate after that, and Bills defense, mega chalk. So ownership, we know where it's going.
Yeah, we'll go to the game here just real quick and let Hoop recap it. But just the chat talking about it is kind of annoying with this 2-gamer. Like, they're raking it up heavy, obviously, because they're on the third, actually, of the $20 right now, and it's almost full because I'm in the first 2. The third one is basically 12,700 of 17K. But also what's annoying as a player and a consumer as well, but like the guys that want to run their bankroll up on this can just run like 450 uniques and just run it's 100K a pop. They just need to just pop one of these scores. If they feel like they've got 600 good lineups, they can pop 450 across 3 of these, and they're only really leaving 150 behind if that's how they're at with their stuff. So it is a bit tilting, but it's just part of the game. That's why we're not going to spend a bunch of time on it, not supporting it heavily myself, actually. So I'm not too worried about that. But again, just going through it here. Hoop, Pittsburgh, Buffalo. We'll go game by game because then we can just focus fully to the next one. Anything we say in the next one, people can just apply to the 2-gamer. I actually think that's the better way to do it. So we'll flip to showdown right after we get your quick recap and thoughts on the Pittsburgh-Buffalo game. Looks like the totals went up a little bit, maybe 38.5 now. But give me thoughts on this one, weather, anything else you want to add from plays, just in general.
Yeah, I mean, obviously not ideal with the temperature, but it was at 33, the total. Now it's up to 38.5, so it's like a 5-point difference, which is pretty substantial. I just think the Bills roll in this game, and I don't know if it's like a hot take in the second game, which we'll get to, but I think it's like I think actually Nate's put it in the chat, and I agree with him. Like, I think it's very clearly the Bills and Buccaneers today that get the job done. I think the Bills could win in a blowout fashion. It's a little bit different for DFS because we talked about it quite a bit yesterday, like a 2-game slate versus a 3-game slate. Like, the reason I like the Bills so much on yesterday's 3-game slate is because the dynamic is way different. 2 versus 3 games. I knew this game was going to get, I knew the Bills side was not going to get much ownership. They didn't. You can see by the ownership from yesterday. So these guys came in very low owned, which is what we hope. The problem is, like, now Josh Allen needs to go for 40 to outscore Dak. So it's like, whatever. I still like to call it the ownership that these guys are going to come in on the 3-game slate. On the 2-game slate, though, again, it's a little bit different because there's just less options, less ways to go. I still am going to be on Buffalo in a big way. I think they put up a lot of points and beat the hell out of the Steelers. But it is different situation for sure. Yesterday versus today, Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, Shakir, Kincaid, that are all good plays. James Cook, want heavy exposure to those guys. It is pretty hard to get unique on this slate though as well, just kind of talking through it, and it is frustrating what DK did, but I'll be big on the Bills and I'm going to be very light on the Steelers. I think they get their ass kicked today, so it's pretty simple for me.
Title, real quick, any thoughts on just from the running back perspective? I want to go there for 2 seconds, because people were talking all day in Discord yesterday about playoff Lenny. And then, you've got James Cook, who we were heavier on. And then also you've got the Pittsburgh side of how we kind of feel like we have it figured out, where if you want to go Najee, it's kind of thinking that he's going to be the guy that gets the job done. Pittsburgh sticking around in it, using him more to try and keep Josh Allen off the field. And then obviously the minute they get down, or when they get down, I should say, is more likely, is you start seeing Jaylen Warren mixed in. So just quick thoughts on either side of that running back pool there.
Yeah, I'm not just James Cook or bust on the Buffalo side. Like, man, I know he's fumbled a couple of times late, but it's the playoffs. I mean, man, I monitor actives too and stuff like that.
Right, we gotta wait and see.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I assume he will because he has been the past couple of weeks. But again, in playoff football, it's a different ball game. I'm just gonna assume it's James Cook, and when it's not James Cook, I'm assuming it's Josh Allen as the second running back right there. So nothing on that side. Now, as far as Steelers, I think Najee's going to be higher owned than Warren, especially with the past couple of weeks. If this game does stay close, we talked about it a lot yesterday. I think you build out your script. If you think Steelers cover, this game still stays relatively close, I expect Najee to get about 25 touches. They don't want to drop back with Rudolph if they don't have to. If you think like Hoop, it sounds like Bills put a beat down on them, jump out early, then I think you see a lot more Jaylen Warren in the passing game, stuff like that. Now, I said on the 3-game slate, I wanted to rule max 1, Gibbs, Montgomery, Warren, Najee. On this 2-gamer, I would not make any rules like that. If they both get 12, 13, that could be enough. Like, Rachaad White is over 1,000 more expensive than both. James Cook more than 1,000 more than both. DeAndre Swift is still 400 more than Swift. Or Swift is 400 more than Najee. So easily could see Najee and Warren being optimal there. So I'll take shots on both of them, not backups for Buffalo.
Yeah, and I like that call too. That would be a way here. The 3 running backs, or I guess 4 running backs I like the most on the slate are, it starts with Rachaad White. We're going to go there and we'll talk more about it when we get to that slate, but just in general. So even in this 2-gamer, I'm going to be in on him. I like the Tampa side. Even if you want to pair him up with the defense or not, you could do that as well. But also, to your point, it's James Cook on this side. And then playing both those guys wouldn't be an issue for me, because between the amount of carries they get and targets, I think you're looking at it like a Christian McCaffrey combo pack. Like $10,700 on this 2-game slate. You put the 2 of those guys in. Yes, McCaffrey might be 97 if he was on the slate, but I'm just saying you're playing both those 2. You have to fill 2 running back spots. And in general, if they get 35 carries plus 10 targets, you never know what that can add up to, and one just has to outdo the other. And then you have to hope that Cook doesn't come through or White doesn't come through, but there's nothing to say that they fully will either. So if I was going that way, and to your point of not setting rules, that would be the additional add there. Do you have anything more, Hoop, you want to add on just running backs in general in that game?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be playing those 2 together, and I prefer Warren over Harris. All the projections kind of have Harris over Warren, so I think Harris does come in a little higher owned. I just want to pull it up. Yeah, it looks like it's pretty split between the 2. I'll be in on Warren over Najee today. And I really don't want to play Najee at all. I mean, I'm sticking to this game script where I think Buffalo beats the hell out of Pittsburgh. So, ranked in order of my preference on the Pittsburgh side, it's probably like Deontay Johnson, Pickens, and then Jalen Warren in that order.
Yeah, good call. Anything else you want to add here, Title, before we move on to that other game?
No, not really. It's I like just like yesterday. I think the running backs are the best play on the Steelers side. I didn't have much interest in the weapons. Of course, now with 2 games instead of the other 3, which the other 2 games are phenomenal. I think one-offing of Pickens, Deontay, Freiermuth, they're going to be very low owned. It helps you get different. You have to be more cognizant of ownership and stuff. But the clear plays, I think, are the Steelers running backs. And then if Josh Allen, the Diggs, the Shakirs of the world, a lot more interest in the second game on the 2-game slate. And then we'll talk showdown. But again, ownership's going to go that way too. So if you want to get different from the jump, overstack the first game, less on that second game, you're different right there.
Yeah, and then someone posted, and I just had to check it out too, about Fournette got left off the roster anyway, so he's not going to be in the mix. I'm not sure how everybody was bringing up playoff Lenny.
Yeah, I wasn't even sure.
Came out 5 hours ago. So
people were really buying into it. Even in I did a lot of the playoff best balls on our sponsor Drafters, and a lot of people were drafting Fournette. There's real running backs available, and and I get it if you're trying to stack up a team, but that seems a little ambitious.
Yeah, and then they stole the nickname last night. It's just because he has playoff in front of his name. Last night, playoff Puka. Playoff guy now got trademarked. It's a name that's out there now. So that was a crazy game, first ever game in the playoffs, and sets the rookie record there as well. So what a season!
Yeah. Now his ass is on vacation.
Yeah, well, that's the way she goes.
The Lions fan chirping. Let him know. Let him know.
Ran into the roaring lion over there, Hoopster. Speaking of Lions likes, very similar here. We need some roaring at the like button. We need some action over there. They're saying we're not getting any likes. I didn't even ask for very many since the beginning, but you guys got to start hitting that like button. We do a ton of giveaways, lots of contests, things that we put out there for everybody. So the only thing we ask on these free shows, it's free to do, takes 2 seconds, easy to do it. We don't have to talk about it throughout the show when you hit it automatically for us. So if you haven't done so yet, smash the like, just takes 2 seconds. Let's talk about this Cabo Puka. Yeah, he's gone. That's where he's headed.
And Nade's right. It's been a while, so we're allowed to talk. It's been a long time.
Did you cry last night?
Me?
Yeah.
No, hell no.
Oh, okay, I had to check. I don't know.
I cried this morning. I cried this morning.
I'm not crying.
I cried this morning when I woke up feeling like shit, but not because the Lions won.
More people in on the title cut. They want to know what you'll do for likes. Get a rat tail going?
Yeah.
200 likes, maybe 2,000 likes with 400 watching.
Oh, man. Just keep going. Last thing I just thought about this with a rat tail. Did you guys ever see the movie Coming to America? Eddie Murphy, back in the day, he walks into the barbershop, says he wants to get an American-style haircut, and the barber looks at him. It's actually Eddie Murphy who plays the barber, too. He's just a sick actor. He did all the guys in the barbershop, and he looks at him, and he just goes, all right, snips it, holds it up, and goes, that'd be $20. And that's his haircut. He just cuts it right off and says, there you go, you made it, you're here. It's a good movie. You should go check it out. Oldie but goodie. Definitely a good one there. Let's move on to Showdown. We got to have this conversation early here. We got Jalen Hurts, $17,400 title. Cash games, I understand it. Everything, I understand it. It's Jalen Hurts, but I guess you know where I'm going to be at on this. I'll kick it to you, though. Get your first thoughts on this one. No A.J. Brown, obviously, is a piece that we're going to talk about, so maybe that goes to it as well. But let's talk about Jalen Hurts up top, and then you can talk about some of these other captains, how you see this game playing out in general.
So many screens, man. It's weird hitting all these mute buttons. I was waiting. I right away I was waiting for you because I knew it'd be just like the Seahawks we talked about. You're like, Jalen Hurts not going to do it. Totally do understand that. I'll be playing Summit to captain. I know it worked out last time. Without A.J. Brown, man, I think he's going to use his legs, but not even just without A.J. Brown. It's just how bad these Eagles have been. Now it's playoffs. You need to win. A lot of banged up pieces. Their secondary's banged up. They're going to probably let up some points to Tampa. I think they're going to need Hurts to do everything for this team. I've been torn back and forth. He's still my top quarterback on the 2-game slate. still my favorite play in this game. Like, I think they need him a lot, but they have looked so bad all year as well, where I totally get, like, people are already going to be playing this Eagles side. How you get different? 4-2 Tampa right away. Plug in an Eagle at the captain, just play more Buccaneers. So all of that makes sense. I'm definitely going to leave money on the table like we've been talking about. There's some cheap-ish pieces, like talking the wide receiver 2, the wide receiver 3s in Philly. There's some unknowns, Quez, Zaccheaus, Julio. Who's going to all get that? I think Trey Palmer's fine. Gainwell down there. So there's enough value, I think, making Hurts work at captain, and you can use them and then not play Devontae Smith or not play Goddard. You can still get unique within using him because his leg upside, the tush push, etc. So I will be playing up the captain spot. Totally get what you're saying as well, but I do feel like I can still get semi-unique, even playing him up top just because his legs and so many ways to go. And I think there's enough value that I'm fine with it. So that's my answer for him. Yeah.
Should note too, he got there that game. All the shit that I talked, he still got there at the last minute. It was like it was so close still. That was kind of my point. I guess he needs everything to go his way. It was another Swift falls at the 1, 9-yard run to the, needed 10, or 8-yard run needed 9, whatever it was, just the way it goes. But either way, it's $1 million up top tonight. I think we do see Hurts come in at a fair ownership. There's lots of ways to get to him. So even if it's 14 to 17%, I actually think it could be higher tonight, but let's just say it was. I still want to look for ways to get different. For me, pretty easy decision on that. I see other options. Also, when you've got Mike Evans, White, Godwin on a team that I think actually gets the job done today, and then you pull into the guy, Baker can spread it out. Maybe I would play a little Baker because he's much cheaper. 17-4 flips to 14-7 up in the captain spot, as you'll see right here. So you can do that as well. And then even Devontae Smith on the other side, Dallas Goedert, Cade Otton. There's a lot of different ways I can go up top. So we'll see what I end up doing here. But Hoop, I'll kick it to you. You said off the top, you think that Tampa comes in and just gets the job done here. You think it's pretty clean cut. So talk a little bit more on that, how you see it playing out, and then go into some of your captain conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I think Tampa wins this game. I don't necessarily have a score prediction. I just think they win. It's a tough spot for Philadelphia. The way they finished down the stretch was not impressive whatsoever, and now they're without A.J. Brown. I mean, it's rare to see a team like not quit, but like play less than 100% effort in the playoffs for sure. But I think if Tampa Bay gets up in this game, Eagles, I think could just be like, all right, we're over this shit and move on. So I want to be on Tampa, obviously for fantasy, but that doesn't mean like you have to avoid the Eagles guys in showdown. So on the Eagles side, I just think tonight's showdown slate is going to be one of the volume guys up there. On the Eagles side, it's Hurts, Devonta Smith, and a guy like Goddard, I think makes sense. And then on the Bucs side, Evans, Rashad White, Chris Godwin are kind of the captains that I'm looking at. It just strikes me as a volume type night that one of these guys is going to have the big game and get there. I will have more ownership, I believe, on the Tampa Bay side because I think they do get the job done. I think there's a route where they, put up a lot of points here. The Eagles defenses look bad. The team has looked bad, all that. So, it's kind of my plan in the captain. But at the end of the day, I do think Tampa Bay gets the job done here. Yeah, I think that's a very realistic score, like very realistic. And, it makes sense to me, a 31-17 win for Tampa Bay.
Yeah, and stick around for the end. We will have the Sim segment. This is our final Run the Sim show of the season. Should have brought that up off the top. Obviously, if you guys aren't over at our friends at runthesims.com yet, you can do so now. Go to runthesims.com. Use promo code SHIPIT to check it out. I think it might have deleted it out of the list here for some reason, but the promo is still ongoing. We did not. I lost it. So go to runthesims.com. Use the promo code SHIPIT. It does get you 10% off any membership over there. Check that out. And we will have the Sim segment at the end where you guys can put your scores in and we'll get after it. I don't know if that seems a bit heavy, but I don't know. We'll see. It's weird though that usually people be on the Philly side. They are still the favorite. They are the team here that people expect, but with no AJ Brown and all that, I think people are a little bit more down on them. So we'll have to wait and see. Did you have anything else to add up there, Hoop, at the top when it comes to captains? Or are you good?
No, I think I'm good. Yeah, I'm pretty certain I'm sticking, and all the content will be updated. Obviously, we get our stuff up very early, so you're able to digest all the content and have a lot of time to get in there and build your teams and ask questions. So everything will be updated on the slate well in advance of this game starting. But yeah, I feel pretty good with those 6 or 7 that I mentioned. Yeah,
and Tyler, I want to ask you quick on Baker. Just like, again, it doesn't have to be for captain, just how you see him going tonight, because like it was an interesting note. Again, everyone's giving us stuff about. Yesterday we were talking about Jordan Love and how his season, while sporadic at times, it was really actually pretty consistent. Now, Baker more sporadic, but when you look, the 21s, the 24s, the 21, 19, 19, 33, 20, 19, almost 20, 21, he's put up some good games. It's a price game we play, salary-based game, right? So that matters as well. We think they're winning. I think it's more likely that it's through Rachaad White and just pulling the Aaron Jones of yesterday. Just you go on the ground. By the way, I should note too, that was the point I was going to bring up earlier. Philly, as good of a run D they were all season, if you look at some of the charts from the last 5 or 6 weeks, they've definitely been giving up more on the ground. So real quick, Title, just your Baker talk, and then we'll go into running back and move by position.
I'm glad you brought him up because I was going to ask you, what do you think he comes in at captain?
I thought less than 10.
Yeah, it's going to be low.
Were you thinking 5? Because I was thinking maybe 5 or something. Because, I have interest at him in the captain spot. He can if he's going to be roughly 5% owned, I don't think it's crazy by any means if he's the highest scorer on the slate. I think Tampa's very live in this game as well. I agree with the Rachaad White. The Eagles have been giving up more on the ground. They have 2 safeties out. Their secondary's beat up. They've already been susceptible through the air. So I already like the air through the air more, how to attack them. I think Mike Evans is going to be higher on at captain. Probably Godwin a little higher on that captain. I want at least one pass catcher if I play him at the captain spot, but I am going to be playing a little Baker and Hurts in the captain. And I'm going to be playing some Mike Evans. I think Swift's another very interesting one who's going to be low owned. It's a little tougher for me to get their captain with all the tush push stuff, but I think he's going to be relatively low owned in the flex and captain when you look at Goddard, who he's priced around, who's cheaper, but projects for better, etc. So I'm looking to I don't want to eat all the chalk in the captain spots. I know I'm going to be playing some Hurts. I think Baker gets overlooked there. I think Swift's going to be low owned, so I'm debating him and wanted your guys' take on him. Outside of that, though, I'll be playing Evans. I'll be playing Godwin, Smith, and then probably Goddard, and that's it. I don't like the punts today. I think Trey Palmer is a good flex play. The Zacchaeus, the Julios, the Gainwells of the world, I'll be mixing in the flex. But I think you're going to want probably the highest score on the slate at the captain today. And I do think Baker has a chance for that at low ownership.
Yeah, keep this in mind, too. And just, again, look to get different in other places. That's fine. But I definitely think Goddard sorry, I don't know why that didn't work this way. My bad. What's going on?
You think Baker will?
No, that's what I was trying to do was show this. Yeah, I do think Goddard gets steamed up in the captain here. Big time. So I know that's you. I love Goddard. He won me a bunch of money in the captain last season. Won some qualifier seats with him this season. He's fine. But the option there of, like you said, different guys being right there around him, like Swift just above, other guys just below that you could use instead the opposite tight end. If you do have the Tampa size, what if Otten catches 8 catches and a touchdown or something? You never know how it's going to shake out. But if you're already going to that build style, I guess is my point, then I'm fine with looking to move other places around. You're not doing it because you necessarily listen, some are. I don't think people are just clicking Goddard because they think it's a Goddard 2 touchdown day. I think people are clicking Goddard because he can have 2 touchdowns and he makes a lot of things work for your lineup when you have 8.1K, which I was trying to show earlier, available, versus when you go someone like Hurts and you're like, 6.5, and you're down there looking at kickers and is it going to be OZ or is it going to be Julio or different stuff? It just gets really uncomfortable, which is okay because $1 million up top, you kind of want to have some spots where you're uncomfortable. But I do definitely think that's something to keep in mind here. So I might be underweight on Goddard is what I'm saying.
No, I like that call because that's why I was mentioning Swift a lot. You look right in the salary range. He Cade Otton, compare Cade Otton to Dallas Goedert. Even Dallas Goedert to Swift. Goddard projects better than all of them. There's no A.J. Brown in the mix. Swift hasn't been good. Otton, he's out there, but he's a cardio guy. So just because of his salary, where he lands on the slate, he makes so much work in the flex or the captain, which is what you're saying, Tambo. And I think, and insert any name right there for Dallas Goedert. We don't care the names. You don't think we're not saying it's a Dallas Goedert two touchdown, Mike Evans 2 touchdown. We care what the field's doing and how to expose that, get leverage off of it. And that was the main thing that stuck out is Goddard's price in a tier of his own. I think it just has to get steam. And Swift, because he's priced a little too high, Swift and Goddard should be flip-flopped. And then the owner, it would make more sense. But I'm happy he's not because I'm probably going to have more Swift.
Yeah, and we saw it yesterday, actually. Not fully because obviously Aaron Jones got there and other guys have big games in them. And we still got those guys going tonight. But Pollard finally had himself a decent. Well, he cracked 20. I mean, you got to give Pollard some credit for that. Like it's tough scene for him this season, but maybe that's what we see out of Swift tonight, and that can make all relative. It's all relative, yes, and it can make all the difference in the world on a slate like this because if you get 20, it's 30, and then in the captain, and then also the price that you're getting, the discount, the ownership, all of that stuff. I definitely think it's possible for sure. So we'll keep it moving. Let's use that and stick with it, Hoop. I'll get your takes. Swift, and then the rest of the running backs. Let's just do running back. Move over to that for this game.
Yeah, I'm definitely not as high on Swift. He has one game over 20 all season long. I know he's ran bad, like falling at the 1 yard line, but that shit happens. Like, just get your ass in the end zone. Like, no excuses. Like, I don't care. Like, I can't do the Swift stuff in the captain. I get it, probably lower ownership, but I just don't know. I honestly don't know if he has the big explosive win, and he doesn't. I guess he doesn't need to go off for 30. Obviously, I mean, I see it there. He doesn't need to, but recently it's been bad, and he hasn't looked good. So I'm fine not playing him in the captain. I will have some in the flex though for sure. Whereas like if you got like 13 or 14, 15, like you might need that in the flex. Talked about Rachaad White. I mean, just so many paths to having a big game. The pass catching stuff, the goal line work, the running. Like, he does everything. All sorts of game scripts he can have big time success in. And then the other guys will just be like fill-ins, Gainwell, Edmonds. Probably don't get much Edmonds. Probably get a little bit of Gainwell. It's a pretty weak position for me overall outside of Rachaad White.
Yeah, I'm going to get some Gainwell. I can see some checkdowns to him today. I definitely think he's possible to mix in. The other thing about Gainwell is, let me move over here for a second. Julio in that range, Quez Watkins in that range. I know that these aren't comfortable clicks either, but I actually could see a world where those become the more comfortable clicks than somebody like a Gainwell or an Edmonds or something in there. So, Title, I'll kick it back to you. You already talked about Swift. I think our conversation around Swift was more captain-based and what's around him. And it's a true, it's not who you play, it's how you play them situation where you're like, I don't even love the guy. Probably doesn't put up you did call that 30 game, I believe was your original call, was like, this guy can get loose. And then he goes off for 30. Haven't seen that in a while. He followed it up with a bunch of 20s or 18s, I guess you could call it, but definitely think there's a possibility you could get there with him tonight as a unique captain. But just talking about running backs as a whole, we already had a bit of a conversation on Rachaad White. Hoop just talked about his stuff and then some of the backups. Where are you at with running backs in this game today?
Yeah, it was more. I called that game. I mean, everyone gets lucky once in a while. No Swift whisper. Again, if I had to say, is he getting the job done today? Probably not. But when he gets the job done, do I have a chance to win $1 million more than if Goddard got the job done? That's what I care about more. I'm definitely playing Gainwell too, though. Like, I think there's plenty of outs in this game where Gainwell, the better pass blocker. I mean, man, the Eagles have been struggling. Maybe they just feel better about Gainwell. He catches a couple more passes. The price is way different. I'll just be playing a lot of that range. You talked about it, though. Gainwell, Julio, Quez, Eagles D, Bucks D, Zacchaeus, the kickers right there. I'll be Trey Palmer. I'll be landing in that range plenty in the flex. And I kind of just want to be playing the ownership game closer to lock. Like, is Julio getting the steam? Is the defense is getting the steam a little more than Gainwell, et cetera? And I'll just be mixing in the lower owned options there. But really just a flex play for me. Chase Edmonds, I don't think I can do that with his price tag. He's in that range. He's low owned. He's even higher than that, actually. He's higher than the Gainwell. But I'll be playing some Rachaad White. I think he's I don't know if I'll be playing him in the captain. And this is maybe just I'm trying to narrow down my pool, have a game script in my head. But again, I'm sold that Tampa's going to beat him through the air and have a lot easier time there. Of course, White can catch passes, et cetera, but I'll be playing some Hurts, some Baker, Mike Evans. You can only play so many guys up top there. So, yeah, I think I'm a little lower. He's the best running back on the slate for sure, but I'm a little lower in the captain spot because he is going to get some ownership, relatively speaking, to these other studs. Love Trey Palmer, though.
Yeah, I like Trey Palmer. That's where I was going to say to go to as well. I definitely like that spot here. Our guy Tweezy, shout out to Tweezy, always in here supporting. We appreciate. He says this was insane, bro. Like, this was, dude, Robinson like had the wind knocked out of him on a shot right before where he was blanketed, goes off. The next play, Atwell gets a little check down type pass. Not really a check, that was a little bit more, but dude falls on his ankle and then he just shoots into the house. That is just so random. Robinson had like 3 shots last night. We just happened to be blanketed on every single one of them. In a showdown slate, not disagreeing, you need to take some shots. Like the chat keeps wanting to know, OZ or Quez. obviously I think more people will land on Quez. We'll have to see how it actually shakes out, but either or. I think Hoop, though, we can transition to this. You did talk last night, or at least yesterday a little bit. It might have just been on the show as we were just basically talking out loud about Julio, red zone usage and potential, and he's 3,800. He's got to be a tough click, even if people agree with that and could see it happening. It's still tough.
Yeah, I mean, the problem on this slate, which you're going to see, is there's not a ton of super cheap plays. So you're going to have to play these guys in the 3K range, and their ownership will come up for that reason. We don't have the full punt. So you're going to have to come into this range. For Julio, yeah, it's going to be more on like Jalen Hurts captain teams where I want Julio, and he does have – and it's not only – recently, like there's times throughout the regular season early on where they're getting this guy looks in the red zone. So him getting 8 or 9 fantasy points, I think, would be enough on the slate because of the lack of good options, lack of good cheap options, or just viable cheap options. So yeah, I'm going to be in on him. I'm being on all the Eagles cheap wide receivers because, like I said, you almost have to. Zacchaeus, Julio Jones, and our boy Quez Watkins. 3K for Watkins. Zacchaeus is 2K. Julio 38, and these guys are just better plays on those Jalen Hurts captain teams. Get the double points if he toss them a deep pass or a touchdown. On the Tampa Bay side, yeah, very clear. I mean, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Trey Palmer at 2,800, all very solid options. Guys I want exposure to. Evans, Godwin, captain plays. Trey Palmer, I think, is a fine flex play. So yeah, a much clearer situation for Tampa. That David Moore guy you could throw in there too. He's 800, probably the cheapest viable option on the slate. The only guy that really has a projection down there. Obviously, yeah, the results have not been great, but just kind of like a dart throw for 800. So yeah, kind of where I'm at, wide receiver.
Yeah, I'm just thinking out loud too. Also, like, man, the situation for what I'm looking at, like if I go, the problem for me is like this range is that the Quez's and OZ, I call them OZ, but like these guys that you're playing down here, I can't really get to a lot of them because I'm not going to play Hurts at captain. And it's what you just said. Like, they're not going to be in the captain. It's very unlikely. It's going to be Hurts in the captain that just adds that to his resume for this game that helps boost him up in the captain. So it's likely that these guys will all fall into my lineups with Baker captains, more so than not, just because that's how I'll shake it out. In the other lineups, what I'm going to try, because then I'm double leveraging. I've got Baker over Hurts up top. And while I'm getting a 50-yard bomb to OZ, I'll take it, but I don't want it to really help Hurts that much more. Otherwise, I'm already dead anyway. So I'm kind of having to use them in certain ways. So I think a lot of the field is going to be comfortable getting uncomfortable down in this range, whether it's Watkins, OZ, Palmer. If it ends up being Moore or somebody like that down here, I could see that as well. But it's just got to be careful of how you use them instead of just plugging them in. Think about your actual overall lineup construction, because that would be something I would think about just going through it and talking through it now, whereas I'll probably land more in Julio and up than Quez, Palmer, OZ, Scott, Moore, and down, trying to make those things work. If you have Jalen Hurts captains, it's twofold, because you need the money and it makes sense. It actually doubles down. Like Hoop just said, you catch one of those 50-yard bombs, you double down, and you really boost Hurts, who could then get more rushing yards, get the tush push or brotherly shove, whatever you want to call it, and go from there. So I'm going to be much heavier on these other guys. Title, I'll kick it back over to you here. Like some of these dudes, Mike Evans, Godwin, obviously Devontae Smith. Like, I guess we didn't talk about him enough in the captain too. Where do you think Devontae Smith's captain ownership comes in at, Title?
I think it's pretty high on this slate. There's so many guys up here. That's why I kind of wanted to ask you. Like, I think Baker has to get sweet. People are going to play Mike Evans, Devontae Smith, Goddard, Rashad White, like all the skill position players. Hurts obviously is going to get his. How I rank them of those guys that are like the highest own that's going to get them, I do think Devontae might be even one of the highest owned up there. What are your thoughts, Tambo? Like I wouldn't be surprised if he came in higher owned than Hurts.
Well, it's huge savings off of Hurts. That's why I bring it up. Like you look at this, you've got the same average as what you had with just Hurts at captain, and you already got one less spot to fill out. So I definitely think Smith, Goddard, those two pop up for that side. And then I think we know who it is on the other side is obviously these other three guys with Godwin, Evans, and White. So I think that just tells us kind of everything we need to know for this slate. But I think that's why I asked. But just do wide receiver in general. We can talk through it again.
Yeah, I do think it has to get spread out, though, because there are, like, you just look at the slate and there's just realistic guys to go to. I mean, each team has 4 of these, I'd call them like volume type guys. So I do think there's a chance it gets spread out a little bit.
So what are your just initial thoughts, Hoop? Like if it's all spread out, no one above 20 and just
that's what I think. I don't think we're going to see anyone above 20. I mean, if the Eagles were rolling coming into the playoffs, then yeah, Jalen Hurts, I think it's a ton of ownership, but people have seen how bad this team has performed lately. I don't think anyone's going to come in above 20. If anyone does, it's going to be right around 20. It's not going to be like a massive 30 number or anything. It just has to get spread out. I mean, you look at people are going to play Mike Evans, Godwin, Rashad White at a high rate on the Tampa Bay side. We already talked about Goddard. Obviously Hurts, Devonta Smith, even Swift will get some ownership. We all agree is probably lower than those other guys. And Baker, like there's 8, 9 like guys that people can just look at the slate and say, I think he can score a lot of fantasy points today.
Defense always gets a little too.
Yeah, it'll get spread.
Yeah. So if that's the case, I mean, Mike Evans is probably my favorite play in this game. Just altogether, upside, ceiling, captain. Like if this secondary has just been beatable all year, it's even more banged up. He has a big play upside. Coach has already said we got to get Mike Evans the ball. That's how the offense runs. I love Mike Evans for sure. Devonta Smith, the offense has been so bad, and now like without AJ Brown. He has to project great. He's going to be out there on the field a ton. He's Hurts his guy. But also, is it like the defenses? Are they going to bracket coverage, play a safety over the top, and just like let Zaccheaus, Julio, Quez, like let them beat you there? Like let the running game. So I've been going back and forth on him. I do know I like Mike Evans a lot more. Just this sheer opportunity, though, for Devontae, it's impossible for me to ignore him. So I'm going to be playing the guys that I know will be on the field. The Buccaneers side is 3 receivers. Mike Evans, Godwin, Trey Palmer. I rank him Mike Evans. I love Trey Palmer, though. I feel better about him. I think his ownership was, like, I'm not saying a hot take, will be higher than Zaccheaus, Quez, Julio, but I feel so much better about him on the field a ton, working out of the slot. Targets aren't always there, but you go 4 for 40 in this game or something. That can plenty to be in the flex, and it can also help you leave money in spots. Like, what if he outscores Goddard and you leave a big chunk there or something like that? So I love Trey Palmer. I like Godwin too. He'd be my 3rd on the Tampa side. Of course, Devonta Smith. And I'm going to be playing all the Zaccheaus, Quez, Julios because they're going to need – I mean, these guys are going to be in on 2 receiver sets, 3 receiver sets. Who's it going to be? Julio's been good as of late, so I think he probably maybe gets the first crack. I think Quez and him are the safest plays. Zaccheaus probably the wide receiver 4. Maybe gets a couple targets, though, and really only takes 1. I think Quez might be my favorite, though. I mean, 800 savings from Julio. I'm hoping Julio is a little higher owned. I think Quez just might be able to run more routes, though, and be on the field more. But I'll be mix and matching all of them. I don't want all 3 together in the same lineup. I think I'd be fine with 2, though. But I don't like any of them really at the captain spot.
Nobody cares what your plays are anyway or who you like. So even Hebrew coming in, Ryu dropping it.
Was no one watching yesterday, or even I think I had it with Rio too. This is the 3rd time I think on a show.
I called it right away as soon as you showed your mug behind the stage here. I was like, you got yourself a mullet, didn't you? You're like,
yes, I did. It'll be.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's hard. I can't even really say it's a mullet yet. I mean, it's a weak ass mullet if you really talk about it. But hey. Give me some time.
That's all. Like my.
Give me some time. It'll be a real one back.
Every single travel baseball kid has that exact haircut you have. And someone put the comment in there earlier. You just need now the big vapor sunglasses. You'll be all set.
No, I ain't gonna be rocking those.
Or Viper. I think Viper.
The hat yesterday was wider, so it didn't cast it as much. Where people are like, it's really slim up those sides now. What happened there? Like it's always slim, but it's like they can tell the cut now. They see it easily. This question did come up. I know we're on to the showdown slate now, but real quick for those wondering for the main, do you like Palmer more than Shakir, or would you go Shakir on the 2-game slate, or people riding their lineups from yesterday for if they played the full 4-game or whatever it was, 6-gamer for the whole week?
Yeah, so especially on the 6-gamer, I mean on both, I think Shakir's this slate. I think Shakir's higher on both slates. I think it's more of a difference on the 4 or the 3-gamer we talked yesterday. So if you're carrying over to yesterday, you should really be looking. Am I blocked out? Like, do I only have a Shakir left and someone above me has Shakir left? And if I switch to Trey Palmer, I could ship or something along those lines. In a vacuum, I prefer Shakir. I feel better about his role. He's pretty much wide receiver 2 now, right behind Diggs. So I prefer him in a vacuum, but I do think ownership will be higher. And I don't think it's a big enough difference. Whereas if your lineup's already chalky or you think you're blocked, et cetera, I think you definitely can pivot there. But long-winded answer of saying Shakir, gun to my head, scores more points today.
All right. So real quick, Hoop, I want to ask you this one. Godwin, so chat's talking about this a lot, and I do agree. Like, so it's such a huge discount, right? From Mike Evans down to Godwin. I think we all would like Mike Evans, and we know why. He's priced at that. The guy just has an amazing floor, ceiling, good matchup. I mean, anybody can toast this team. That's fine. But the interesting part is that kind of tells you the story between Godwin and Evans, but where Godwin is priced with Baker right there, Devontae Smith with no AJ Brown, Dallas Goedert just below him. Is there any chance that you see Godwin come in and get squeezed a little bit on overall ownership just based on that? And people do have the money to go up to Mike Evans in pretty much anything except Jalen Hurts lineups where it gets uncomfortable. And they'll still get there too.
Yeah, I mean, I think he just has to get the ownership. The ownership just has to come along with it at the $7,800 price tag. I mean, again, we just don't have cheap options, so people are going to try to get the more security in their lineups if possible, and just finding a way to get to a guy like Godwin, who everyone knows he can get 10 targets, 10 catches, that sort of thing. I think it just has to come. It has to follow.
Look at this lineup. I mean, you could play.
Yeah, and you still have 6,200. Yeah, I mean, you can get
whatever you want.
Yeah, good guys to go along with it.
Yeah, so got to be thinking of stuff like that when you're building it out. And why I said I do think Goedert gets steamed up very easily, because that's the case. I actually wonder if Godwin ends up coming in more owned at captain as well, just because of the price tag. Again, he fits that same mold on the other side, of course, so that's where it will be different. But I don't know. It feels like as much as the line is, last I looked anyway, it was Philly favored by 3. It's still, something along those lines. So really wonder, because it still feels like, I know it's just us talking here, but in chats and discords and all around, just people talking about this game, it feels like people are really just over the Eagles, and there's just no way they can do it now, especially losing AJ Brown, all these things. So really stressful from the perspective of fading Jalen Hurts at captain. But I don't just do it because of ownership or anything like that. I just know that trying to win $1 million, it's, you can mix in some of those low-owned guys and get away with it. I just prefer to take stands. Like Hoop said, if we get it really balanced out, it's awesome. If you like Hurts, easy to get overweight. If you're like me and you don't like him, I get to get overweight on all these other guys that I do like. So it's really a good slate for everybody from that perspective. It's a bad slate for whoever loses at the end of the night, which is most people, unfortunately. So keep that in mind, but I'm always taking the shot, trying to get to the top the best way possible that I think I can get there. Anything else, Hoop, that you want to add on wide receiver? If not, you can go to tight end. Anything else you want to rope in with that? I am going to bring up the sim segment. You guys can start throwing your scores into the chat now.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty quick conversation. I mean, you have 2 tight ends basically in play, Goddard, Otten. We've talked about Goddard a ton on the show. Otten is $5,400, $1,000 less than Goddard. Should come in substantially lower ownership, but I like Otten too. I mean, I'll definitely have some exposure to him. I think the defenses get more ownership than they're showing here, just because we don't have cheap options. I think people will be forced to play them. I prefer the Bucs over the Eagles, $600 more. I think most people just go to the Eagles. So I'll be making a point of getting more Bucs than Eagles. And then the kickers, both fine options. $5K for Elliott, $4,800 for McLaughlin. Same situation with the defenses. They just have to get a decent bit of ownership because of the lack of overall options today on the slate.
I definitely agree on that as well. They're looking early on in ownership projections like people are comfortable going there as well. So see how it actually shakes out. It's kind of interesting too. I also wonder, we'll get it out of these scores, but if you don't want to throw a score in, do over or under 40. What is it? 43 tonight? 43? 43, yeah. Over or under 43 points in this game tonight. I'm curious to see what everybody thinks. Real quick, Tyler, do you have anything you want to add to the tight end mix there? Kickers, defenses, anything in with that?
I think Cade Otton has to be a little overlooked, priced right above the kickers who project a little better. So I think he's interesting, get a little different, always on the field. Dallas, Eagles, Dallas, I guess, too. You can attack these guys anywhere, outside, through the middle of the field, through the passing game. So I think Otton's fine. I agree with Hoop. I like Buccaneers defense over Eagles. I think they will be lower owned. I like both, though. Baker's beat up. Jalen Hurts can take plenty of sacks. They're going to blitz them. Both defenses very much in play. And, so, when we talk about it, I guess I can throw this back to you, Tambo, but who do you see below Zacchaeus at 2K that like you're gonna play? Are you gonna mix in a Boston Scott? Rashad Penny will probably be inactive. I know Hoop mentioned David Moore. I might just X him out though with Trey Palmer's wide receiver 3. Like I'm just forced to play Philly wide receiver 3s, the Trey Palmers, the defenses, kickers. And I'm just trying to get different on guys I at least know will be on the field, teams like defenses, kickers that can put up points, and just avoid these most likely zeros. So I think they all are going to get some ownership, eat into it. But I guess throwing it back to you, anyone under Zacchaeus you're leaving in your pool?
Maybe just more.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'll be very careful. I'll look at it when I build it out, but he's 800, so I could see him fitting in, but it's kind of like that's just because, especially because I think I like Trey Palmer quite a bit tonight, actually, but I'm saying if he ends up getting steamed up as well, that's where I would look at ownership and just say, again, that's getting to be a bit much, where why couldn't it just be the other guy? So I'm going to do that as well, but I think he'd be the only one that I'd probably go to down there. I'll have my final stuff up in the slate plan, but I think that's a good question, and I don't know exactly who it'll be, but look, right now it looks like more. Real quick here, we got not these scores, but just look over. That's an over. Overs club.
What's the people's parlay? Eagles under.
Both games go over. Book it. There's 2 unders out of everybody in the entire chat. So it is interesting to note, just thinking from that perspective. Again, everyone's looking for a shootout here. In this one, I actually think you can see the first game at 38.5. I like that over, even though the weather, but we talked about that yesterday. We don't have to get into that again. I could definitely see it. Title, what's the first score that you want to bring up here? Well, you're bringing that up. I'll quickly run it down for everybody just here in case you guys are joining us for the first time. I will tell you it's the last time for this season, running the Sims segment on the show. If you want to check out Run the Sims, lots of good stuff they got going on over there that you guys can check out throughout the offseason as well. Go to runthesims.com/ or just go to runthesims.com and use promo code SHIPIT or shipitnation.com/RTS, and you'll be able to get in. Simply what we're going to do is go to DFS Tools, NFL, the Sim Runner, turn off the pro mode. You can change it, be as manual as you want with this. If you've got different angles for this game, we are just going to simply change the score, run 10,000 simulations, and find out what the optimal results look like. And it looks like we've got 2017 for the Eagles. So we've got the under, and we got some Eagles love. We got them pushing on the spread of 3. So 20-17, we'll set it up to run the Sims. You have a guess on the score, Title?
I do think the Eagles do pull it out, and I do like the under, and I like it even more from what people are saying. So I think right around this is what I'm thinking.
No faith in the chat. No faith. And they've been pretty bad this season.
Not only the chat, I came in Eagles. Like everyone I've heard is on Tampa, like you said. And I feel like I've heard it for weeks with how bad Philly's looked. I think they do get Hurts' legs involved a little more, take the arrow to the football, and try and win it that way. But,
woo!
I mean,
get your boy excited over here. Look at that. Minus 10% captain leverage. Now, they have him at 26 in the captain, and I don't see that being true either. Yeah. But give me that one time, please. Just one time. Don't let this guy fall on the one every single time. It's just unbelievable. But nice to see this little extra bonus right out of the gate. But for those of you just viewing this for the first time or seeing us run through this, it's done. The 10,000 simulations now. It sims the game out, play-by-play sims, so you guys can see what the results would be based on that. It's the player, who they are, their price. This is what Run the Sims thinks their ownership is going to be. If you don't agree with it, that's okay. Like we said, we think this will be spread out a little bit more, and that's fine. But just to show it, that's the total of the combined. So they're saying Jalen Hurts will be about 89% owned on the entire slate. Now, in the 10,000 simulations, Jalen Hurts showed up on the optimal lineup 53.9% of the time in the flex, 16% of the time in the captain. So now it's showing you that there's negative captain leverage because they think he's going to be owned 26. He only shows up 16. And then in the flex, they think he's going to be owned 63. He only shows up 53.9. Title, you brought up the score. I'll kick it to you first. Anything interesting here that stands out for you? This is an under. Remember, we're talking 37 points. So your thoughts on the Sims running out on this score?
Yeah, the two things that stood out obviously Hurts like it did for you and everyone. Baker, probably the next what stands out. Really likes Baker at captain. But outside of that, it is so spread out. Like if the ownership was efficient or pretty much what is going to happen, there's no real edge to be had in a lot of these spots. Scroll down a little bit. Like Julio showing some positive leverage. I'm interested to see if Zacchaeus, the Quez Watkins. Not really. I mean, if the Bucs defense, okay, we like Bucs defense. I do like seeing that. But usually we see a lot more like negative 10% plus leverage spots like on both sides. And it feels really does not like Zacchaeus at all, actually.
These guys don't even show up to Quez shows up 12% of the time still. So it kind of starts with him more if you want to just take it based on price at 800. But after that, like you're talking 5% or less that these guys show up on 10,000 simulations for how they would get into a lineup here. So that's just what it shows.
And which we were kind of just talking, like I think I'm going to probably exit or X off everyone below Zacchaeus. And that's not a hot take by any means, but hey, 117,000 people, a lot of 150ers out there. You can maybe get those guys combining for 5%, 6%, something like that. Say they pay the rake, people that play Jake Stoll, Calcantara. I say that and now there's something's going to fall in the box like always. But yeah, what I'm excited to see what Hoop. I know he's going to pick Tampa to win. Maybe he picks a little higher score or something. But if we see more leverage on either side, because outside of Baker and Hurts, it looks pretty efficient for this score is what I'm seeing. Doesn't like Trey Palmer. I don't like seeing that.
I think what we end up seeing with, and we'll see when we do another score, but you're going to see a lot of scores produce something similar to this because look at it. It's all the high volume guys up top. Any score is going to want as many of the, unless you do something crazy like 6-3 or something, but these are all the clear plays. And then you just mix and match some of these cheapies down low, the kickers, defenses. I think you're going to end up seeing a lot of outputs like this when we run it. I mean, I'll do like what? Let's try that one earlier, which I like 31-17. Tampa Bay gets the lead. Eagles kind of like, all right, whatever. We made it to the Super Bowl last season. Let's kind of move on and go with Nakia to Cabo.
Yeah, I'll run that in just 1 second. Marquis said Tushbush gets her done every time. We know that. The point is that they get to where they can do it every time. That's the tilt of they're always right there. We know they're the best at completing it. It's how do they always land on the one? That's the tilting part about that. One other note, too. I know that to your point, Hoop, these guys are the ones that show up, and I think it'll be the same here in a second when I run it, and I agree, all on the same page. Flipping the roster construction, though, like I said, using some of these mid-tier captains can make it so you don't need to go down here as often versus like a Hurts lineup, you have to. And one note is that, again, these can be off, and I think they are in some cases, but even if you take and cut them all in half, 13, 9, 2.5, I don't believe all these numbers, but 7.5, 8, whatever. They're not all going to be this high, but that's a lot of ownership moving to these cheapies. And sometimes you can just flip the script of the build around some, like a Baker captain requires much less of that than a Jalen Hurts captain. I know it's Baker versus Jalen Hurts. I don't care. It's one game, one slate, $1 million, put it that way. So all those factors to me make it so that it can make sense. Let me pop back in here and throw that score up. We'll just reset it here. So 31-17 in favor of the Bucks, 31-17. Change those scores up, 31-17, and run it. We'll see what pops up here. Anything else? Go ahead.
How do you see it going, Tampa? You got Hoop. You think Tampa puts it down? I lean a little lower scoring. Eagles edge it out. What are you seeing?
I'm thinking I had to pick a score. Right now what I'm feeling is that Philly wins is what I'm feeling. I just think if Philly wins, I think it's the under. I think it's going to be like, I don't know, like 24. What would it be? 24-17? Yeah, I could see that. That's right, what I could see. That'd be 41. So yeah, 24-17 is what I'd be seeing. I think I could see something like that. It's just the way it feels like.
You were spot on, Hoop. Literally,
Baker. Yeah,
I don't know any difference besides
Baker. Baker moved up. Hurts went from -10 to -16. I mean, it's just gonna want to force those guys in and avoid the cheapies.
Otton and Palmer picked it up quite a bit, obviously, with the score going up.
Yeah, makes sense.
That makes sense. So realistically, that's what I see. Like the rest of the guys did get bigger drops now. Obviously, the Eagles D takes a hit. OZ, my boy, takes a hit, and then
they almost have them like not even playing. Like Quez and Julio, and like pretty much no OZ is how Run the Sims it looks like has it.
Yeah, Quez took a hit. Julio does pop up though, and I guess if Hoop is right, which he's been right a lot, especially on guys like Julio who have typically been dust, for what we've seen, you could be right here, Hoop. Maybe it is a spot where he just catches that one touchdown and anything more is a bonus. But I'm saying maybe that ends up being it while everyone's waiting on their Zacchaeus bomb or they're waiting on their Quez Watkins. Oh, but it just takes one 60-yarder down the stretch. Well, true. It can be something you could be waiting a long time on and maybe till after Cabo next year. You never know, like you said. So I don't see much else here. It's kind of a good news for me, but we all know sometimes this goes one way and sometimes it goes the other. It's not always the exact result. So I'm good with it. Anything else you want to add, Title? Any final thoughts from you?
Yeah, looking at this, I think I will play some Baker. I liked him at captain a little bit, assuming he was low owned. That solidifies that. Maybe move Hurts down a little bit. For the showdown, though, again, I'll be focusing more on it's not very often the 2-game slate. DK completely butchered it. And $1 million of first place on a showdown. I mean, I want $1 million today. I can't win that on a 2-gamer. So I'll be focusing there. And I like crossing everyone below Zacchaeus off, mixing the matching captains, leave a little bit of salary, go from Goddard to Otten, Goddard to a kicker, like build out a line. We talk about it a lot in MMA. Build out a lineup. Easier in MMA when they fight each other with a $600 difference. But you have to be focused on ownership. When do you win? How much do you win? Over 17,000 people today. So, hey, any 6-figure, high 5-figure win, I'll be happy with. But it's all when you win, how much you win. Enjoy 2 games. Friday or Saturday, Sunday, Monday, football. What a good day, man. So I'm excited.
Yeah, and hopefully people still have some sweats left over from the weekend. There's a lot of good stuff that was going on there. It did carry over. The big one yesterday carries over into tonight. I know there was some people in Discord this morning sweating it out. If you guys want to get into the Discord, I'm bringing this up quickly just before I go to Hoop for his final thoughts, because while the PGA only packages are out, and we've spent a ton of time talking about those, had a great start to the season for the team over at the Nation. But just to note, like $34 for the month, $199 for the season for just PGA. If you are on the All Access and you use promo code Mayo, it gets you 10% off. So you can go down to $62 a month and get all the other sports. Like we still have NBA, great projections, ownership, everything going on there with all the rankings, the showdown stuff that our guy Rio does, just a ton of great things for NBA. Nade's doing the same over in NHL. Title, Marley, the rest of the crew in the Discord over there, always breaking things down for MMA. And then you do still get PGA, the rest of the NFL playoffs, including the Super Bowl. And then baseball will be back in no time. And you can add the 10% to the 6-month or the annual. So I know the people looking at the golf package, seeing it $199, $179 is a good deal. Annual at $539 with promo code Mayo is all the sports we currently offer and everything else we add throughout 2024. Without letting the cat out of the bag, I can let you know there's going to be additions in 2024. So those are going to be included. If the sports are added, they are going to go into all of what you get already. So you're going to want to lock in your price now. We've been pretty straight up from the beginning. This has set at $699 crossed out for a while now, much longer than we anticipated or expected from the start. So adding new sports is last time the price went up was based on that. So keep that in mind as you're looking to lock things in. Hoop, final thoughts on this slate? Anything else you want to add there or talk about before we get out of here for the last time on a Monday this season?
Let's finish out the weekend strong. I mean, a lot of success in NFL, a lot of success in PGA this weekend, MMA, all the sports. Let's finish out strong. It's been a fun ride, obviously, on all these shows. And obviously we'll be back next weekend with shows on Saturday and Sunday to cover the 2-game slate. Looking forward to that. And let's get those logos to the top, the SHIPIT Nation logos.
Definitely. And appreciate all of you. Definitely appreciate Tweezy again saying should cost. The shows are free. We say it all the time. All that we ask is you hit the like button. We're working on that still in 2024. I got the tutorial on the way. You know, we're all about that education. Don't talk about it, be about it. We got to get that like video tutorial again, but also subscribe to the channel. It's another easy thing you can do. It's free. There's going to be a lot of good shows coming out. All of our shows are free here on this channel. So check that out. Thank you guys so much for watching throughout this entire season. Thanks to Mayo for helping us out here and getting us onto the channel, hosting us. Thank you to everybody for Title, for Hoop, and for myself, ToeTagginTambo. One last time for this slate. Let's ship it.